Let's be real. The JavaScript world can feel like a total maze, right? There are always new frameworks, new tools. It's constantly shifting. But what if you had a map? Well, that's what this is. We're breaking down a strategic blueprint to not just get through the complexity, but to build a seriously high-value career in JavaScript. So let's dive in.
If you've ever felt like this Reddit user, you are so not alone. The ecosystem is just massive. You've got the call stack, microtasks, macro tasks, all this async stuff, and it is really easy to feel like you're just spinning your wheels. But you know, getting past that confusion, that's the very first step toward real mastery.
But here's the deal. We're going to cut right through all that noise. This is your actionable plan, a direct path from feeling totally overwhelmed to feeling confident and, maybe more importantly, becoming super valuable in the job market.
Okay, so here's our game plan. It's a three-parter. First, we're going to master the technical core. Then, we'll get into the modern ecosystem, all the tools and trends. And finally, we'll connect all those skills to the financial payoff and help you pick the career path that's right for you.
So, this first section, this is where the real transformation happens. It's about moving beyond just writing code that works and really truly understanding why it works. This is the stuff that separates the junior developers from the architects who are designing these huge complex systems.
And here's the key thing to remember. Pretty much anyone can learn syntax, but high-value engineers, they master the deep-down mechanics of the language itself. We're talking about how JavaScript handles time with async operations, how it manages memory with closures, and how it defines scope. This right here, this is the bedrock of expertise. Okay, this table, this is basically your cheat sheet for senior-level interviews. These are the concepts that come up again and again, like mastering closures isn't just some academic exercise. It's literally how you manage data privacy and state in your apps. And understanding the event loop, absolutely critical for building apps that feel fast. These topics, hoisting, promises, prototypes, they are your ticket to the most challenging and the most rewarding roles out there.
So let's zoom in on the event loop for a second. JavaScript is single-threaded, which means it can only do one thing at a time. The event loop is its magic trick for juggling all these different tasks, like API calls or timers, without freezing the whole page. And the key distinction you got to know is this. Microtasks, like a resolved promise, always get priority. They run before macro tasks, like a set timeout. Knowing that little secret is how you build applications that feel incredibly snappy and responsive.
And here's another perfect example of a core concept, scope. Before 2015, all we had was var, and oh man, it led to all sorts of weird bugs because it was function scoped. The introduction of let and const was a total game changer. They gave us block scoping, which just means a variable only exists inside the curly braces it's defined in. That one simple change made our code way more predictable and a whole lot easier to debug.
Okay, with those core concepts locked down, let's see how they actually play out in the real world. Section 2 is all about navigating the ecosystem, the tools, the frameworks, the trends that are shaping the job market right now. Knowing what to use, and more importantly, why you're using it, is a huge strategic skill.
Just look at this trend right here. The adoption of TypeScript has absolutely exploded. And why? Because it adds a type system on top of JavaScript, which means you catch errors while you're coding instead of when your app is in production. For any big enterprise-level application today, TypeScript isn't a nice-to-have anymore. It's pretty much a non-negotiable.
Now, when we talk frameworks, React is still the undisputed king of the castle. It's component-based architecture, and it's just massive ecosystem, make it the go-to for so many good projects. But the landscape is really diverse. You've got to know about the other big players, like Vue.js, which people love for being so approachable, and Svelte, which is getting a ton of buzz for its cool compiler-based approach.
And the story doesn't just stop at the front end. Full-stack frameworks are taking over, and Next.js, which is built on top of React, is leading the charge. The demand for server-side rendering is huge right now because it makes websites faster and better for search engines. And that's something Next.js does incredibly well. Mastering a framework like this gives you a massive career boost.
Lastly, let's touch on tooling. For years, Webpack has been the standard for bundling code, and you can see its usage is still sky high. But then, look at the sentiment. Vite is the most loved tool out there. This presents a really interesting strategic choice for a senior dev. You need to know Webpack to work on all the existing projects, but you should be pushing for Vite on new projects because the speed and the developer experience are just so much better.
So, you've mastered the core concepts. You know how to navigate the modern ecosystem. Now, Let's talk about the part everyone's really interested in. How does all this hard work translate into a high-value career? Let's get into the financial payoff.
Here's a quick look at the financial journey. A junior dev in the US starts at a really strong average, almost $90,000. But look at that jump. Moving up to a mid-level or senior role pushes you well into the six-figure range. And then you have premium freelancing, which is a whole other level of earning potential.
Essentially, you have two main highways to maximize your value. You can climb the corporate ladder in a specialized salaried role, becoming a senior engineer, a tech lead, an architect, or you can go the premium freelancing route, where you get way more control over your rates and the projects you take on.
Now, if freelancing sounds interesting, this part is crucial. Your choice of platform is everything. You've got bidding marketplaces where there's a ton of competition and that tends to drive rates down, but then you have premium vetting platforms. These places put developers through some really tough testing. But if you can pass their screening, you get access to top-tier clients and can command much, much higher rates because the platform has already vouched for your quality.
And those rates? They're significant. On these premium platforms, skilled JavaScript experts are pulling in anywhere from $60 to $150 an hour. This is the direct financial payoff of combining that deep technical knowledge with in-demand ecosystem skills.
Okay, we've covered a ton of ground, right? From the deep mechanics of JavaScript all the way to financial strategies for a killer career. So let's boil all of this down into one final, powerful idea.
After looking at all of this, a really clear pattern starts to emerge. What's the one thing, what is the single thing that separates a good developer from a truly great, high-earning one?
This is it. This is the whole ballgame. They don't just know what code to write, they deeply understand why. They make strategic decisions. Why are we using TypeScript here? Why should we prioritize this feature as a microtask? Why choose Vite over Webpack for this brand new project? Their value isn't just in the code they produce, it's in their judgment and how it impacts the business.
So I'll leave you with this question. The next time you sit down to start a project, don't think of it as just writing lines of code. Think of it as building a strategic asset for a business. And armed with this blueprint, how are you going to build it?